Welcome, everyone. My name is Mackenzie O'Brien, and I am a long-term championship office intern this year for the U.S. Open. And, I just want to thank you guys again for taking the time out of your busy summer schedule to come out and volunteer for this year's championship. This is going to be a presentation going over the Hole Marshal and 19th Hole Marshal Committee training. A little bit about our leadership we have here. A lot of you have probably met John Celeberti already. He is our volunteer coordinator for this year's U.S. Open. We also have two other USGA staff members on board with us this year that are going to help out with the marshals, Justin Armstrong and Chris Mills. And we also have Lena Campbell, who is the John Ryan of the 2024 U.S. Open on site helping us out. And we also, this year, a lot of you might know them, our Marshal Chairman, Chris Higgins, Bob Benton, and Greg Range, as well as our 19th Hole Marshal Chairman, Roger Barker, and Steve Underwood, that are going to be helping us out throughout the week of the championship. If you guys haven't met them yet, here's a picture of them. You guys will probably see them around on the course at some point during one of your shifts. They're just going to be some leadership, just kind of helping us out in whatever area we need. And this is a little organization chart we have, kind of showing who our area captains are for what area and what holes they're kind of going to be overseeing the week of the championship. And we're also thankful to have, a couple of clubs that are helping us marshal specific holes, as well as, some public holes to help the rest of you guys get out here and have this opportunity to marshal this year. But, really thankful for all of these clubs that could help us out on our end. This is going to be just a little overview of what the golf course is looking like. It is going to be playing as a par 70, and there are a couple unique holes out there, like hole 15. You can see a picture of it up there on the right. It's going to be a little unique specifically because it is such a short par 3. It's going to be playing around 124 yards and can honestly play about as low as 96 yards on some days of the championship, which is really unique for a championship this size. And we also have hole 11, which is a pretty lengthy par 3 at around 290 yards. So there are going to be some fun holes out there for you guys to be working on, as well as for the spectators to be watching. So as a marshal, we really have 3 main objectives for you guys. The first one is just to control the access inside the ropes, just making sure the people that are inside the ropes are supposed to be there and keeping out everyone else that should not be there. Another thing is just assisting players in fan movement. Want to maintain the pace of play by spotting golf balls and keeping the crowd under control, as well as assisting fans. We just want to promote a safe environment by assisting with fan movement, all the crosswalks and any general questions that they might have. So every hole will have either 1 or 2 hole captains. They're going to be kind of your guys' point of contact if you ever have any questions or concerns while you are volunteering. They'll have radios with you. When you guys get there, you're going to check in on your tee with your hole captain, and they're going to put you in whatever position that you're going to start with for the day. And you guys are going to be rotating throughout the hole, throughout your entire shift, so you're not stuck in one spot the entire time. If you guys don't know who your hole captains are already, here's a little overview of who they are. I'm sure a lot of them have already reached out to you guys, kind of introducing themselves. If they haven't already, they probably will. And if you guys ever have any questions or concerns before the week of the championship, you guys can either reach out to us with the USGA or to your hole captains, and we should be able to help you guys. So there are about 5 different hole marshal positions: the tee, crosswalk, fairway, greenside, and the grandstand marshals. When you guys get to your first shift, your hole captains will put you in a specific position and rotate you throughout all the positions, and just, really want the operation to run smoothly. Standing on the back corners of the tee box, you guys will have a paddle with you, and we just want to make sure that you guys aren't in view of the players when they are swinging. We want you to, kind of be out of their way. But when they do hit the ball, you have this paddle, and we kind of Want you to signal to the hole marshals that are down the fairway where the ball is going, just in case they hit an errant shot, making sure they know it's coming to the right side of the fairway or the left side of the fairway. So those ball spotters that are down there are able to know where the ball is coming.
Marshal positioning for teeing grounds consists of two primary roles. Number 1 is a paddle marshal. Numbers 2 and 3 are tee marshals. A paddle marshal's primary responsibility is to signal the flight of a tee shot so that marshals in the landing area or putting green can follow and spot the ball as it approaches. The tee marshals are focused on alerting spectators when each player is ready to play a stroke, which helps to ensure that there is a consistent and fair environment for everyone in the field. As a player approaches the ball, turn and face the spectators. Once in position, please try to remain as still as possible until after the player has completed the stroke. As the player group approaches the tee, the paddle marshal should signal to the crosswalk marshals that the crosswalk needs to be closed. This motion is done by waving your arms and crossing the paddles above your head. Always position yourself behind the player group, generally in the rear corner of a teeing ground, so players won't be disturbed. However, you must also be in a location where the paddles are clearly visible to the marshals in the landing area. When a player begins to address the ball, paddle marshals should raise their arms. Distinct arm motions must be provided so that anyone in the landing area can quickly identify the path of the ball. Only 3 arm motions are necessary. For a shot that is proceeding down the fairway or toward the green, a simple motion of the paddle moving up and down several times is required. For shots that are traveling to the player's right of the fairway, an arm motion out to the right is necessary. And for a shot that is traveling to the player's left of the fairway, an arm motion out to the left is necessary. Practices to remember. Do not congregate on the teeing ground in between groups. Paddle marshals should stand in the rear corner but remain visible to marshals in the landing area. Tee marshals should be adjacent to the rope line and face the spectators before a player addresses their golf ball. Remain quiet and still while players are making a stroke. Do not take photos or ask for autographs while on duty. And do not initiate conversation with the players.
The crosswalk marshals are the most critical, when it comes to the element of like smooth fan flow. Your hole captains will give you specific instructions for opening and closing the crosswalks, but we just want to reiterate that you should never let a fan stand in the crosswalk to watch play or to take pictures or hand out anytime. We want to make sure they're only using the crosswalk to get from one point of the golf course to the next. And we also do not want you to drop the ropes and let the fans walk over it. It's just a safety hazard. We don't want anyone tripping over it or anything like that. So we do want you to carry the rope into the fairway with you when you do open those crosswalks for everyone.
Crosswalks at championships are an integral component to moving spectators through the grounds. The proper operation of crosswalks also impacts the pace of play and movement of player groups. The key elements to efficient operations include opening, after a player group has proceeded through the crosswalk; rope management, which is defining the crosswalk boundaries; and closing, the proper closing and signal from the teeing ground. Safe technique for opening a crosswalk begins with the rope remaining taut and above the ground. By doing this, Marshal A can safely open the crosswalk while showing the spectators one boundary. At the same time, Marshal B walks out to show the other boundary. Using arms to assist with guiding spectators is encouraged. When the time comes to close the crosswalk, a signal will come from the tee, generally using directional paddles. Crosswalk marshals should keep an eye on the tee for this signal. After seeing the signal, walk the rope behind the spectators while keeping it off the ground. Crosswalk marshals should communicate with spectators to let them know that the crosswalk is closing. Once the last spectator is through, secure the rope on the stake. At the end of the day, when the play is complete, please coil the rope and hang it on the stake so that the crosswalk remains open after you have left your post. Practices to remember. Do not drop or drag the rope on the ground. Be sure the entire player group is through the crosswalk before opening. Ask spectators that stop in crosswalks to keep moving. And watch for the closing signal from the teeing ground.
At the end of the day, we do ask that you leave all the crosswalks and the equipment open. So when we're servicing different areas of the golf course overnight, that they don't have to worry about the rope lines or anything like that. We do ask that you coil the ropes and put them near the nearest stake, and we don't want you to leave them on the ground overnight. And we also just want to reiterate that we don't want you guys moving the ropes and stakes without any USGA approval. Wherever they are and wherever they're put, we want you to keep them there and not move them unless you have been asked by someone else. Our fairway marshals, they really serve as floor caddies and ball spotters. If a ball lands out of the fairway but within the rope line, we're going to have wired flags where you want to mark the ball. If the ball lands in the fairway, we don't want you marking the ball, but if it's going to be hard to find, like for the players and caddies to find that ball, we want you going there and marking it for them to help the pace of play. And if the ball lands outside of the ropes, we want to make sure that you get to the ball quickly as possible, and do not allow anyone to touch the ball. Obviously, if it goes into where the fans are, a lot of people are going to be gathering. We just want to make sure you don't allow them to touch the ball or anything like that, just so we don't have any troubles with the players and caddies once they do get to that ball.
Marshals working in the landing zones are important because they assist with spotting wayward golf balls. In addition, they work with spectators to help ensure a fair playing environment for all players. Fairway marshals should be positioned adjacent to the rope lines along the fairways. If a rope line is not present, then make sure you're well outside of the landing zones. As a player steps in to address their ball, fairway marshals should turn and face the spectators with their hands raised to signal that a stroke is being played. Always be prepared to address spectators as necessary. If required to do so,
hold please.
All commands should be done prior to the player addressing their ball. Practices to remember. Fairway marshals should position themselves adjacent to the rope line. Remain quiet and still while players are making a stroke. Do not take photos or ask for autographs while on duty. And do not initiate conversation with the players.
Small wire flags are used by marshals in landing zones to identify golf balls that have come to rest in places where they are difficult to see or might be hard to find. Marking the general area where a ball lands can have a positive impact on pace of play because it allows the player group to continue along without delay caused by searching for a ball. It is not necessary to place a flag in the fairway, intermediate cut, bunker, fringe of a putting green, or on the green. However, when a ball comes to rest in heavy rough or outside of the rope line, the flag should be placed in proximity of the landing area, no closer than 2 feet, but always between the ball and the approaching player. This will help reduce the risk that the player or caddy could inadvertently kick or move the ball. Once the flag is placed, the marshal should step away and be prepared to point out the location to the player or caddy. However, only the player or caddy will remove the flag and return it to the marshal. Practices to remember. Do not use flags when the ball is clearly visible inside of the rope line. Place the flag between the ball and the approaching player. Allow the player or caddy to remove the flag. Be careful that your actions or those of others do not cause the ball to move. And do not initiate conversation with the players.
So for our greenside marshals, we want you guys using hand signals to notify fans, to be silent if a player's putting or hitting their approach shot to the green. We also want you guys making approach shots to the green, just making sure that if it does not land on the green, it might go over the green. You guys can spot the ball and might be able to help if the player wasn't able to see that. And you guys are also going to be responsible for managing the rope lines from the green to the tee. We just want to make sure there's no fans blocking that area or getting in the way, so the players have a smooth transition from hole to hole. And we also will have multiple marshals around the green. We just want to make sure that you guys are spread out around the green and not congregating in one area.
The primary responsibility of greenside marshals is to assist with controlling spectators by helping to provide a consistent and fair playing environment for all players. Greenside marshals should position themselves along the rope lines or grandstands. As a player steps in to address their ball, greenside marshals should turn and face the spectators with their hands raised to signal that a stroke is being played. When play on the hole is complete, greenside marshals will assist with exit ropes from their hole to entrance ropes for the next hole. Assisting with the movement from green to tee is critical to maintaining an acceptable pace of play. In order to have the exit open, you'll need to work with spectators to remind them that the players will be walking through an area to reach the next tee. Spectators may be required to move if they decide to stand in that area. You should begin to clear the exit path utilizing the ropes after the first player has holed out. Once the player group has proceeded to the next tee, the spectator walkway may be reopened. To do that, Marshal number 1 must replace the rope to shut off access to the putting green. Then, Marshals number 2 and number 3 reopen the spectator walkway while closing off access to the next teeing ground. The most critical aspect of reopening a gate is for the Marshal team to be efficient. Sometimes, in heavily trafficked areas, opening and closing rope lines will happen simultaneously. In this situation, proceed quickly and avoid dragging the rope lines, as they could get tangled amongst spectators. Practices to remember. Putting green marshals should position themselves adjacent to the rope line. Do not congregate immediately adjacent to or on putting surfaces in between groups. Work with the spectators so that they'll help you. Become familiar with the steps necessary to operate the gates, including working with marshals on the next teeing ground. Plan to have the gates open in advance of players moving toward them. Make sure the entire player group has moved along before closing. Keep ropes off the ground to prevent trips and falls. Do not take photos or ask for autographs while on duty. And do not initiate conversation with the players.
If you do happen to have a grandstand on the hole you're marshaling for, we're going to have marshals working on the grandstands. From Monday through Wednesday, you're really just going to be managing the flow of people in and out of the grandstands, during the practice rounds. But if you are volunteering Thursday through Sunday, we're going to be doing the same thing, but it's going to be just a little more congested. We're just going to make sure that we're going to have one volunteer at the top and bottom of each entry point, making sure that the crowds are under control and all of that. On the championship days, so Thursday through Sunday, we actually are going to be utilizing grandstand reentry cards. It just kind of manages the capacity and flow of the grandstand. So if the grandstand on your hole does reach capacity, we're not going to be allowing any more people to enter. If someone does want to leave the grandstand, you will be giving them a grandstand reentry card like you see on the screen. You're going to put whatever hole the grandstand is on, as well as the time that they are leaving. and they'll have 30 minutes to go and do whatever they need to do before they have to come back. And if they don't come back within that 30 minutes, their spot is gone, and we'll be letting more fans into the grandstand. But we're only going to be utilizing this if the grandstand does become full or at capacity.
Grandstands come in different sizes that accommodate a varying number of spectators. They are generally located near teeing grounds or putting greens. The proper positions for grandstand marshals are along the stairways at each entry. Marshals should position themselves at 2 primary locations. When there is enough staffing for 2 marshals per stairway, one should be positioned on the walk deck above the stairs, and the other one should be positioned at the base of the stairs. The marshal located on the walk deck will be able to view the players and thereby limit entry or exit during play. The marshal at the base of the stairs will assist by letting spectators know when they can enter the grandstands. Stairways should be kept clear, with spectators queuing at the entrance on ground level. Once the player group has finished playing at the tee or green, the marshal at the top of the stairs should notify the spectators that they may enter or exit the grandstands. When play returns to the area, the marshals will temporarily restrict any entry or exit again. Practices to remember: keep stairways and walk decks clear. Do not allow spectators to sit on the stairways or walk decks. Spectators should refrain from leaning on any railings. And remain vigilant for unsafe items, loose boards, loose handrails, etc., and notify your leadership about any of these items.
So just some grandstand procedures. We don't want anything like this to happen. We don't want people standing on the entrances or the exits to watch any golf. If the grandstand does reach capacity, we're gonna make sure that people are off the grandstand, off the stairs, make sure they're behind, and then there's like this. There are going to be 3 ADA viewing areas, grandstands. It's going to be 10 green, the 17 green, and number 4 tee. So if you are working on one of these holes that has an ADA viewing grandstand, we just ask that you make sure that the viewing area for those people are only being utilized by those people that need it, that are either have fans with disabilities or have scooters with them, just making sure to keep those clear and not for just the general fans that are there. So the grandstand closing procedures, once all the seats are occupied or getting close to reaching that max capacity, we should be closing down the grandstands. Your hole captain, whoever is the hole captain for the day on your hole, will make that decision and let you guys know that we need to be closing the grandstands down. Those fans that are wanting to enter the grandstand, you need to make sure you communicate with them, knowing that the reason they're waiting is because the grandstand is at capacity, and they can choose to wait in line, or they can go try to watch more golf at another location. When the grandstands do reach capacity, they're most likely going to be at capacity for an extended period of time. So we don't necessarily want a massive line forming behind each grandstand. And we're going to keep the grandstands closed until about 25% of that grandstand is empty. And then once the hole captain determines we can start letting more fans in, we'll start letting more fans in. A lot of you guys are going to be 19th hole marshals, and just kind of an overview about what you guys will be doing. You're not necessarily assigned to a specific hole every day, but you are going to be like our bullpen. Since this is the first time we've hosted a US Open at the Los Angeles Country Club, we don't necessarily know where our problem areas are going to be. So once we do figure out those problem areas, you guys are going to be helping us, and you'll be going to various positions within the golf course and just kind of helping whatever we need to do, and just being our bullpen, our backup for the whatever day you are shifted to work. Check-in procedures. So our hole captains will be checking in with their area captains at volunteer headquarters. And our marshals, you guys are actually going to be checking in with your hole captains at the tee box of your assigned hole and not at volunteer HQ. You guys are able to go to Volley HQ before your shift and grab, some light snacks or beverages before and enjoy the air conditioning while you can. And then you'll be just meeting your hole captains at the start of your shift at the tee box, and they will assign you to whatever position that you're going to start on for the day. And then our 19th hole marshals, you guys will be checking in at Volunteer HQ and will be giving an assignment to whatever location that we might need your help for on the day of your shift. So the volunteer village this year is in a pretty convenient location for you guys. It's actually right off of hole number 1 on the north course. Whether you're parking at UCLA or the Beverly Center, everyone will be getting dropped off on Wilshire Boulevard right here, and you'll be entering the championship this way. You'll be going through gate 5 into Fan Central, and then right after you cross the bridge over Wilshire Boulevard to get to the north course, our volunteer HQ is actually right off the bridge. You guys either are going to be checking in there or you're going to be able to stop there and to get some light refreshments before your shift starts. Like I said, we will be having a light breakfast and coffee in the morning, but we just want to make sure that you guys are only accessing the volunteer headquarters on the days you are shifted to work. There'll be a slight check-in before you get in there, just to make sure you're working that day, and we will also be having a volunteer raffle. There'll be raffle cards throughout the volunteer headquarters that you guys will be able to fill out, and we are going to give out some prizes to some of our volunteers this year. Just a couple of things to know is just once you arrive on your assigned hole, we just want you to become familiar with all of the different surroundings of your hole, the entrance to the tee, the exit from the green, all of the crosswalks, any of the landing zones, or what are other holes that you're around, as well as just other facilities like a first aid station or restrooms, because you might be having fans asking you those general questions about the course, and it's always convenient when we're able to help them out. For inside the ropes access, the USGA will be giving some individuals inside the ropes access, which will allow them to be inside the ropes. We're either going to have player badges, armbands, or lanyards. So these are the players' badges. All of the players will have them. They will also be having these hat clips with them as well, and this will be able to give them access inside the ropes at any point throughout the championship. For the armbands, our players will be getting 2 armbands per player during the practice rounds. Our hole captains and area captains also will be getting these armbands to be able to access inside the ropes whenever they need to, when they're working on the hole and just kind of marking who is in charge of that hole. The other inside the ropes access is lanyards. They're either going to be red or yellow this year, and it's going to be given only to a certain groups throughout the championship. Obviously, the players, USGA representatives, rules officials, caddies, media representatives. We just want to make sure that the people that are inside the ropes do have these lanyards on, so we all know who has access and who's supposed to be in there compared to who's not. We just want to, reiterate that there will be a lot of media representatives and photographers that will be on the course. We just want to make sure that they have the proper lanyard with them and not just the credential alone. And we also just want to make sure that they stay within an arm's length of the rope whenever possible, and we don't want them walking on the fairways or on the greens anytime. But we just want to make sure you guys understand that as marshals, you guys aren't security, and if something like that were to happen, we want to contact the appropriate parties to deal with the situations. Okay. So weather warnings and suspension of play. We are in the beautiful sunny state of California, and we're hoping that there's not going to be any inclement weather while we are here for the championship. But just in case there is any inclement weather, we just need to be prepared for anything. In the case that we do have any inclement weather or that leads to a weather suspension, we will be issuing a weather warning. There will be warnings throughout all the signs on the course, and your hole captains will also be notified. If you are on a grandstand during this, your hole captains will inform you about what steps you should take, whether that be everyone exiting the grandstand or whatever the proper next steps are going to be. But we do strongly suggest people move towards safety if we do end up having a weather warning, just to keep everyone safe. If we do end up having any suspension of play, that will be coming from the USGA. There will be one long air horn that will be shot out throughout the course, and we just want everyone to immediately take cover. As a marshal and as a volunteer, we don't want you guys leaving the championship grounds during a suspension, just because play can and more than likely will be continuing after that suspension is over. Your hole captains and your area captains will give you guys further instructions on, what might be happening and when play might be resuming. And if there is a suspension of play, we will be evacuating the grandstands. We're just notify those marshals just to have everyone calmly and collectively just exit the grandstands if it does come down to that. All of our hole captains will be having these grandstand alert cards with them. So if, we get an alert 3 and alert 4, it'll have the instructions on what to do there, and they will be able to assist you guys on what the next steps will be. So just as a marshal, we just want to give a little overview about what not to do while you guys are volunteering. We don't want you asking for autographs or taking pictures while you're on duty. We don't want you to allow fans to stand or watch in the stairways and aisles of the grandstands. We don't want them entering or exiting the grandstands during play either, so while the players are putting or hitting into the green. We also don't want fans to sit on the front of the grandstands with their legs overhanging. We want to make sure everyone that is on the grandstand is in a seat. We also want to make sure that you guys aren't talking to the players of the caddies. We are on the holes, which we're getting pretty close to those players and caddies, but we just want to kind of distance ourselves from them. And we don't want to take security matters into your own hands. We do have security on site that will take care of any problems if they do arise. And just want to make sure that we communicate with everyone. We can't address any problems if we aren't made aware. If you have a problem, if you see something, say something, tell your hole captain, and they'll get back to us if there's anything that, we need to handle. Be concise and to the point, and we just want to make sure that we're not changing anything without the USGA's approval. And just a couple friendly reminders. We want you guys checking in 15 minutes prior to your scheduled shift, whether that be on your tee or in the volunteer HQ. If you can't make your shift or you're going to be late, we want to make sure that you guys are calling our office and letting us know so that we know that you're either not going to be there for the day or that you might be a little late, so we can let your hole captains know that. And we just want to make sure that we're not leaving your volunteer position unless you're relieved by your hole captain. So if you do need to leave, or for any instance, we can get a 19th hole marshal out there to help out the hole, so we're not understaffed. And just again, we don't want to attempt to take any photos or try to get autographs while you guys are volunteering. And just a couple more important notes. When your shift ends, just check out with your hole captain. Let them know that your shift's over and that you're leaving. And just remember that volunteers are the eyes and ears of the championship, but we are not security. And if you do happen to come across a lost person, we need to notify public safety immediately so they can take care of that. And just no alcoholic beverages while volunteering. Once your shift is over for the day, or if you're not working for that day, you can definitely enjoy the championship just like a general fan is. But while you guys are volunteering, we want you to keep it in a professional capacity. And we just want to thank you guys again for taking the time to volunteer for this year's US Open. And if you have any questions or concerns, give us a shout at the email below or give us a call to our office.